Have you ever felt like your emotions were in control of you instead of the other way around? Well, today we're going to dive into some incredible ideas from Thibaut Maurice's book, Master Your Emotions, to figure out why we feel the way we do and, more importantly, how we can get back in the driver's seat. So let's start with a feeling I think we all know. You could get 100 compliments, but that one little piece of criticism, that's the thing that sticks in your head all day. Why does that happen? It's so frustrating. But here's the thing. It's not a flaw in your character. It's actually a feature of your brain, and it's been hardwired into us for a very, very long time. And that hardwiring is what we're going to call the brain's survival glitch. See, understanding this is the absolute first step, because that tendency to zoom in on the negative, it's not some personal failing. It's just, well, it's an outdated piece of software running in our heads.
Okay, so here's the core idea, and it's a big one. Your brain's number one job isn't to make you happy. Its job is to keep you alive. Just think about our ancestors for a second. For them, survival meant constantly being on the lookout for threats. A predator hiding in the bushes or getting kicked out of the tribe. Happiness? That was a nice to have, but it wasn't the priority.
So this ancient programming creates what scientists call a negativity bias. Basically, your brain is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. And in our modern world, where a mean comment on social media isn't actually a saber-toothed tiger, that old survival code is turned into a glitch. It just causes a ton of unnecessary stress.
And if you think, oh, if I just get that new job or a new car or move to a new city, then I'll be happy, well, this research might just blow your mind. Look at this. Only 10%, just 10% of our happiness is tied to our external circumstances. But a massive 40% comes directly from our internal world, our thoughts, our actions, our mindset. And honestly, that's amazing news because it means the power to change is right here, inside of us.
So if the outside world has so little power over our happiness, what's really running the show inside our heads? Well, the book introduces us to two hidden architects of our emotions. There's that survival instinct we just talked about, and then there's a second, more personal force, the ego. Now, when we say ego, we're not talking about being arrogant or full of yourself. In this context, the ego is simply the story you tell yourself about who you are. It's this mental construction, this narrative that you've pieced together from your job, your relationships, your successes, your failures. It's that little voice in your head that says, I am a smart person, or I am someone who is always anxious. Just think of all the things the ego latches onto to define itself. Your job title, your car, your political party, even your problems. So when somebody criticizes one of those things, say your opinion on something, the ego feels like you are being attacked personally. And that's exactly where that sharp emotional sting comes from. All right, you're going to want to pay close attention to this next part, because this is the real aha moment of the whole book. We're about to break down a super simple three-step formula that explains how a tiny little thought can snowball into a massive, overwhelming emotion.
Okay, so it all starts with step 1, interpretation. An event happens. Let's say your boss walks right past your desk without saying hello. Now, in and of itself, that event is completely neutral. It means nothing. But you immediately interpret it. Based on your ego story, you might think, oh no, she's mad at me, or I must have messed something up. You give that neutral event a negative meaning.
Then comes step 2, identification. And this is a really crucial shift. You don't just have an anxious thought anymore. No, you become the anxious thought. The idea, I might have messed up, morphs into, I am a screw-up. You literally fuse your identity with a passing feeling, totally forgetting that you're actually the one observing that feeling. And the final ingredient that makes this whole thing so powerful is step 3, repetition. You don't just have that thought once, of course not. You play it on a loop, over and over again. All day long, you're replaying that scene in your head, strengthening that negative interpretation, and digging yourself deeper into that feeling of anxiety. You're just feeding the beast. And there it is, interpretation plus identification plus repetition equals a strong emotion. This is so important because it's not just a formula for how emotions are made, it's a roadmap for how to unmake them. If you can break the chain at any one of these 3 points, the emotion loses its power over you.
Okay, so we know the formula. Now for the really good part. How do we actually break it? This section is your toolkit. Real practical strategies you can use to start dismantling those negative emotions the moment they start to creep in.
First up, we've got a surprisingly simple physical hack. Research from Amy Cuddy shows that just 2 minutes, in a high-power pose, think Wonder Woman, hands on hips, chest out, can literally change your brain chemistry. It boosts testosterone, the confidence hormone, by 25% and drops cortisol, the stress hormone. A low-power pose does the exact opposite. It's proof that sometimes your body can lead your mind out of a funk.
Now let's attack that first link in the chain, interpretation. The book shares this really profound idea. Reality in itself can never be upsetting. Let that sink in. An event is just an event. The story you tell yourself about it is what causes all the pain. So the tool here is simple, but not easy. Challenge your first story. Ask yourself, okay, is there another way to see this? A more empowering way?
And to break the cycle of identification and repetition, there's a really cool technique called the Sedona method. It's so simple. When you're stuck in a negative feeling, just ask yourself 3 questions. First, could I let this feeling go? Second, would I let this feeling go? And finally, when? And the answer, of course, is now. The magic here is that just asking these questions creates a tiny bit of space between you and the emotion, and that little bit of space is everything.
All of these tools, all of these ideas, they all point to one final, huge, and life-changing insight. This is the core belief that can completely transform your entire relationship with your own mind. Think about this amazing metaphor for a second. You are the sun, constant, bright, powerful. Your emotions, your anger, your sadness, your anxiety, they're just clouds passing through the sky. Yes, sometimes they cover the sun completely, but they never ever change or harm the sun itself. The sun is always there, and you are always there, behind the fleeting clouds of emotion.
Or, hey, here's another way to think about it that I really like. Emotions are like clothes. You might wear a heavy coat of sadness for a day, but that coat isn't you. It's just something you're wearing. Realizing this helps you disidentify from those feelings. You're not sadness. You're the person experiencing sadness, and you can always choose to take the coat off.
So when it all boils down, it really just comes to a choice. You now understand the mind's sneaky little formula for creating emotions, and you have the tools to break that formula. You know that you are the sun, not the clouds. So the only question left is, what new story about your emotions are you going to choose to believe, starting right now?